Okay, so here are three different functions. We are going to take a derivative of each of them. So you can either try them out first by pausing the video, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through with it. So let's do part A first. So part A, what we want to find is find the derivative of f of x is equal to cubed root of x minus 1 over x, square root of x. So the first thing that we want to do before we even start taking the derivative is let's change this to powers. So I have f of x is equal to, well, the cubed root of x is just x to the 1/3, and this is going to be 1 over x to the 1/2. Now, it would be also good to make sure that we have the powers. We don't want to have fractions like this. So let's have it as x to the 1/3 minus x to the negative 1/2. So I want to have them as x to the something. Okay, so now we are ready to take the derivative. Okay, so these are not the derivatives yet. Now we're going to take a derivative. So f prime of x is equal to, okay, now let me move the 1/3 over. So this is going to go to the front. 1/3 x to the 1/3 minus 1 minus, now I'm going to take the negative 1/2 over, and then I'm going to subtract by 1, x to the negative 1/2 minus 1. Okay, so f prime is going to be equal to 1/3 x to the negative 2/3. This is going to give us a positive. Okay, so this is going to give us positive. So this is going to be positive 1/2 x to the, what would this be, minus 3/3 minus 3/2. We're almost done. All we got to do is just put these on the bottom. So f prime of x is equal to 1 over 3, and now this is going to go on the bottom. So this thing is going to go now to x to the 2/3. This is going to also go to the bottom. This is going to be x to the 3/2. And all we got to do now is just simplify this, or reduce this back to radicals, since we have radicals before. So we're going to have 1 over 3 cubed root of x squared plus 1 over 2 square root of x cubed. Okay, we can reduce this a little bit more if you want to. This will just be x, square root of x, but we can leave it as this for now. Okay, so that would be the first one. Okay, now the second one, I wrote it in a different way. Now I put d over dx. That way you get used to it. This just means take the derivative with respect to x. What I've noticed is that I have two different functions. I have one function, this is going to be my f, and I have my other function, this is going to be my g. Okay, so they're both being multiplied, which is very different than this because this is being added. Here in this case we have multiplication, which indicates that I have to use the product rule. And if you remember, the product rule, which you need to memorize, is that it's the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this. So the first is going to stay the same, x squared plus 1. Then the derivative of the second, which is going to be x minus 5 minus 1 plus 1 over x prime, plus, now we're going to leave the first one by itself, x minus 5 plus 1 over x, and now times the derivative of my second term, x squared plus 1, and then I'm going to take the derivative of that. Okay, so what is this going to give us? So I'm going to get, x squared plus 1 times the derivative of the first, of the second. The derivative of x is just 1. The derivative of 5 is just 0. And then the derivative of that, well, I know that this thing is just x to the minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to the front. That's going to give me a minus 1 x, and then subtract it from 1. That's going to give me minus 2. Okay, then I do nothing here, x minus 5 plus 1 over x, and then I'm going to take the derivative of the blue one, which is going to give me 2x. The 1 goes away. Okay, so now all that's left, I'm going to have x squared plus 1, 1 minus, I can bring this to the bottom, 1 over x squared, okay, plus x minus 5 plus 1 over x times 2x. At this point, you can just leave it like this before we make a mistake. So we can just leave it like that. Okay. All right. Now my last one. Okay. So now we're going to take the derivative of this. What I notice is that I have two different functions. I have an f and I have a g, but they're both being divided. So what this tells me is that I have to use the quotient rule. Okay, and the quotient rule says that I'm going to take the low d high minus high times the derivative of the low over low squared. So low d high minus high d low over low squared. Okay, and all I'm going to do is just I'm going to plug in all of my values. Okay, so low, my low in this case is going to be this x squared minus 2. So we're going to have x squared minus 2 times the derivative of the top part. So that's going to be x cubed prime. Then I'm going to have a minus, okay, minus my f, okay, which was my purple. So now not going to do anything with this one, and now I'm going to take the derivative of my low value. Okay, my low is going to be x squared minus 2 prime. It's going to be all over low squared. So this is going to be x squared minus 2, and then I'm going to just square that. So I'm not going to take the derivative of that. Okay. Oh, all of this was y prime equals that. So y prime is not going to be equal to, so x squared minus 2, nothing happens there. This is going to be 3x squared minus x cubed. This is going to be 2x, minus 2 is going to go away, divided by x squared minus 2 squared. Okay, and at this point you can leave it like this if you want to. We're not going to work with it a little bit more. Let's just leave it as this. Okay, later on we'll reduce it more. Okay, so that's basically how you would do these different types of problems. So chain rule will not be on the exam, so you are safe with that one. Okay, so hopefully this helps.